Shalom. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, called Reparations. Can they afford it? Yes, if we are bought again. Now, let me explain what I mean in this particular aspect. Reparations is basically defined as what you give to someone for a wrong act that was committed. The root basically in reparations is the word repair. So when people are saying that reparations are needed, we, yes, are saying by default that there's something within us that is an impairment, that is something that is not repaired, that is not mended, that is not fixed within us. Now, in speaking about this in regards to, say, the United States, right? Brothers and sisters, the United States ended slavery legally in 1865. What many people are talking about when they speak about reparations, believe it or not, is cash, money, is share stock, and so forth. What I'm presenting, brothers and sisters, and asking a question inside the presentation, can they afford it? And I'm saying, yeah, they can if we are bought again. Many people who are referred to as the $5 Indians, the people that you see on reservations and having casinos, they were paid off. Many black women who got money from, say, New York City or anywhere else in regards to their children being harmed or even worse by the police. Those mothers were paid off. The Central Park Five, those guys were paid off. So my point, brothers and sisters, is the only way that reparations in regards to talking about some kind of money can sit there and repair something is if we are bought again, is if we are given a payout to keep our damn mouth shut. Freddie Gray was killed by the police in Maryland. His mother took the money that the state of Maryland or the city of Baltimore offered. Her case can no longer be heard because she took the payout. So we have to ask ourselves, should we accept what they are talking about in regards with reparations? Malcolm X spoke years ago, may he rest in peace, about the Haitian Revolution. There was bloodshed. The Bolshevik Revolution, there was bloodshed. The French Revolution, there was bloodshed. And many of our people, stated by Malcolm X, are afraid to bleed. Our ancestors did bleed. And it was free of charge as far as it goes with that. If somebody pushes you on the ground and you get hurt, and that person comes and says, oh, here's $15, and you accept that, but say the healing for that wound is $20 or more, you no longer have a case because you already took the payout. When you know that you have wronged someone, you might just be one to want to give a payout just so you won't have to keep hearing that person's mouth. Just so you can sit there and rationalize, not rectify, but rather rationalize in your own mind concerning the matter of reparations. That is not a start, brothers and sisters. Like some people say, well, it's a start. You cannot give me the currency that has Washington on it, who had a black man as slaves, that had Lincoln on it, whose wife had black men as slaves, that had Hamilton on it, brothers and sisters, who damn near was a proponent of slavery, who had Andrew Jackson on it, because they did not put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, yet they still have Jackson on the $20 bill. And he had the black man as slaves. So, brothers and sisters, when we sit back in this particular regard, we want to, brothers and sisters, state you cannot, brothers and sisters, give somebody the currency such as the $50 bill that has Grant on it. Grant had the black man as a slave. The $100 bill that has Benjamin Franklin on it, another proponent of slavery. So from the $1 bill with Washington, to the $5 bill with Lincoln, to the $10 bill with Hamilton, to the $20 bill with Jackson, to the $50 bill with Grant, to the $100 bill with Benjamin Franklin. All of them, brothers and sisters, either had slaves or were in support of slavery on the black man. So I'm not accepting that payout that you're giving me, that you printed in your mint and you put your value upon it with all kinds of Masonic symbols on it, all kinds of, brothers and sisters, images that certainly go against the house of Israel. To accept that, brothers and sisters, when you look, for instance, at the $1 bill, the top of the pyramid, which says Inuit Coeptus, which means our project is in success. And under the pyramid, Novus Ordo Seclorum, the new order of the world. So if they give you 1,000 of those or more, is that your payout? Or are you indirectly being bought? Black people have a thing of saying of other black people, ain't nobody going to use me. So if nobody's going to, as you want to say, use you, then how in the world can anybody who would know anything of what happened with our ancestors accept that payout? The matter of reparations, can they afford it? Yes, if we are bought again, because we was bought before by gold and silver, gunpowder and rum from Western Africa for the most part. Now they have this thing going around saying slavery really didn't happen like that, or slavery did not happen, or we was already here. We didn't come over in those ships. So while today you got politicians talking about reparations for slavery, here you have internet people, brothers and sisters, talking about the aspect of saying we were never really slaves. See, you have to understand, like somebody pointed out years ago, about how the said Illuminati has infiltrated in layman terms, the conscious community. So now when you start seeing weird doctrines and people just being there against people, these people are agents, brothers and sisters. You understand? You know, I just started this PowerPoint presentation and about the live streaming. You know what YouTube told me right before I said start broadcast? Live streaming will end later this year. They're changing it up on YouTube from live streaming to webcam. Maybe they got their own reasons for such. You understand? But brothers and sisters, there's no way with Washington on a $1 bill, he being guilty of training black men as slaves between North America and Barbados. Lincoln being on a $5 bill, being guilty in marriage to a woman who had slaves. Mary Lincoln was a slave master, just a female one. Hamilton on a $10 bill, who was a proponent of slavery. Jackson on a $20 bill, who has a high school named after him, and he was a slave master. Grant on a $50 bill, and he too, while fighting for the Union, had a black man as a slave. And Franklin on a $100 bill, who too was an endorser of slavery. If you accept that currency, talking about that's reparations, you a sellout. Numbers chapter 35, verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are for blood. It polluteth the land, and no expiation can be made for the land, for the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. That's why, brothers and sisters, when you look at situations such as Michael Brown, such as Sean Bell, such as Sandra Bland, you cannot accept their currency in the aspect of saying, well, it's a start. Thus saith the Most High, so shall ye not pollute the land wherein ye are for blood. It polluteth the land, and no expiation can be made for the land for the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So you can't sit there in the Most High's world, as it says in Zephaniah, their silver and their gold, they shall cast in the street, shall be a vain thing. So while they're sitting up there in a particular college, well, we're going to sit there and give the black students a decrease in the tuition. But then in many cases, having now been a college graduate, having taught in a college, the standards are not higher. So while they're sitting up there supposedly giving you a supposed reparation discount in a particular college, it's still who knows how hard is what to sit there and use many of those degrees. Many of those degrees in the colleges is straight garbage. So we can understand what it is. Many college degrees do not land you and get you the job that you want to have. George Bush Jr. in the State of the Union address one time stated that the monies in regards to Social Security in X amount of time is not going to be there. You understand? Our brothers and sisters talking about the aspect of reparations being given, talking about America would have to pay in the trillions of dollars. Brothers and sisters, they're not paying you no trillions of dollars. That's not going to happen. They know good and well if they were to, we as a people generally would do nothing but give it right back. But you have to remember the Most High does not change. So just as the heart of Pharaoh in the Bible was hardened, so is the heart of many of these politicians hardened. So the signs from the Most High can be multiplied. Because if reparations is given in the way they're talking about it, how do you fulfill Numbers 35 about the blood being shed of the person who shed it? Now, I talked about the movie Paid in Full before. I talked about the characters in real life who Wood Harris and the rapper Cameron and the actor Mekhi Phifer were playing. Richard Porter, AZ, and Alpo. When Alpo in real life killed Rich, Alpo asked AZ in real life, yo, you think if I give Rich's mom and Rich's sister $50,000 apiece, they will let this go? Alpo, after putting Richard Porter to death in 1990, asked his friend or former friend, who have you, hey, if I were to give that guy's mom and his sister $50,000 apiece, do you think they will let this go? Alpo, you just sat there and spoke of your own guilt. This man already knows of his own guilt. He make movies about his guilt. He writes books about his guilt. But the problem was, we were not supposed to read those books. We were supposed to stay in comic books. The sisters was intended to stay in novel, fictional books, as the mothers were. So when we begin to see the promotion, sadly, of Feds magazine, Don Diva, As Is, and so forth and so on, these quote unquote hood publications was made to sit there and keep the people in the same state. You understand? Brothers and sisters, you cannot afford to pay someone after slaying them, stealing from them. Let's go on to the next slide. Reparations. 1990. USA, Japanese American. 1990, Austria, Jewish claims of Austria. 1988, Canada, Indian and Eskimos. 1988, Canada, Japanese Canadians. 1986, Ottawas of Michigan. 1985, Chippewas of Wisconsin. 1985, Seminoles of Florida. Do you know in 1986, the Seminole Indians in Florida told a black man to leave? Let's go on. 1985, Sioux of South Dakota. 1980, Klamath of Oregon. 1971, Alaska Natives Land Settlement. 1952, German Jewish Settlement. 1865 to present, Slavery and Jim Crow era. African American black descendants, 0. See, this is why, as a brother, though I know good and well that there were people who were natives who were black, something is different. See, if these natives who are said to be black by some, if Omarosa turned in her black card, so did they. If Cuba Gooding Jr. turned in his black card, then so did these natives. I'm not trying so hard, brothers and sisters, to find the black natives, because I can see that you took out the green. You got paid. You understand? Whereas, not to be in my feelings, I'm up there on Indeed.com looking for a different kind of job within the state of North Carolina. Their children don't have to do what my parents' children, me and my younger sisters had to do or have to do. The situations that my daughter will be going through, their children do not have to go through. So I can't waste but so much time or use so much time trying to find the black natives all over the length and breadth of the earth. Brothers and sisters, when these people have taken their pay out. In the scriptures, we read this. Fear not thou, O Jacob, my servant, saith the Most High, for I am with thee. For I will make a full end of all the nations, whether I have driven thee. But I will not make a full end of thee. And I will correct thee in measure, and will not utterly destroy thee. What did the Most High say? He will make a full end of all the nations, whether the children of Israel were scattered. So why do you think all of a sudden now they want to talk about, let's give reparations, let's pay these people off? Because they know, as we're going to point out later, brothers and sisters, of Eloheinu, our power, our God, and what he stated already. Remember that statement that I just stated. Let's go on. What the grandmothers / mothers went through. Picking cotton in the southern states. Being made to do this to make America rich. The era on the right-hand side, not too long after said emancipation. Did you know, brothers and sisters, that the education that we got in segregated schools was better than schools that was integrated? The concern was there more. The love was there more. The sense of responsibility and the fact that I must teach this little one was there more. The spirit behind it, the thrust and the drive to want to help the children was there more when the schools were segregated. Somebody typed in introduced in house, January 3rd, 2019. Commission to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans at this bill establishes the commission to study and develop reparation proposals for African American. A proposal. And our people, sadly, in many cases, are going for the hook. Yeah, I want that money. Pay me. Meanwhile, not trying to sound harsh, the things that our ancestors went through, many of us don't even want to do willingly. Well, if I have my social security number, I don't even have to work because they are using my social to sit there and use it as a way of getting money, and I can use it too. When they mail you your child's social security number and you sign on that birth certificate, yeah, they're making money off of it. But you know what it is? It's still another form of them saying that they have rulership over you. That's what that's saying. See, we think while we being the biggest consumers, when I say we, I'm talking about black people, that freedom will come when we have economic freedom. It's not only that. Freedom comes in when you have your own land. Freedom comes in when you have an understanding of your own culture. Freedom comes in when you have an understanding of your own language. See, Washington, Lincoln, Hamilton, and Jackson is not teaching you your land, language, and your culture. The people who's okay taking the buyout money, brothers and sisters, they're not teaching you nothing about land, language, and culture. So you get X amount of billion or trillion something dollars and still don't know how to work a land. Like the people in the picture knew how to work land. That log cabin you see there on the right hand side, you know it was a slave who built it. The cell phones that we use, invented by a brother. The aspect of the doorknob and the door stopper, and we went on and on before about the inventions that our people have done. But if you sit there and accept their currency while not having any understanding of land, language, culture, legacy to pass down to your children, as opposed to just saying, well, I paid off my debt with the reparation money so my children can sit there and start anew, and I'll give them some more money without teaching any kind of economics. with the same mentality that if a brother or sister sits there and is, to get a little deep, promote your business on the channel, you don't even sit there and take time to share the video that your video was on and that your business was promoted on. Let me break this down so we can understand what's going on. No disrespect intended. Periodically, I do promotion of brothers and sisters' businesses on the channel. There are people whose businesses were promoted and they didn't even share the video that their business was promoted on. But we want to talk about having billions of dollars. We ain't ready for something like that. We are not ready for something of that magnitude. These are little things that we want to talk about for edification purposes. Let's go on to the next slide. Reparations, question mark. Can they repair for all the stuff that's being done here on the left-hand side? Can they repair with the green debt burying note? Because that's what it is. It's not really money. It tells you this note is legal tender for all debts, private and public. The American dollar doesn't even have the same weight as it used to have. And now they want to sit there and take this dying dollar while the stock market is falling down. The NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, and so forth and so on is not as high as it used to be. Well, now let's talk about giving something to the niggas while they're falling down. Ain't enough money that can be printed to replace what was intentionally taken away that caused us to stand naked before the world. History, language, culture, and traditions. That's what somebody typed in the room. You cannot repair that. What you see on the right-hand side, separating a man from his wife and them from their child. If you believe in accepting that money, you a sellout. I have to ask to please pardon the language. In slavery in South Carolina, for sure, there was a thing that they used to do called blast a black's ass. I want to type this in a room so we can begin to see where we're coming from in this particular regard. It's called blast a black's ass. They would put gunpowder inside the anus, inside the behind of a person that was a slave. Gunpowder inside of one's anus and ignite it and cause that person to be blown up. That was in South Carolina. How do you sit there and think to fix your mouth? To have, well, we can sit there and put this dying dollar inside the hand of the niggas after sitting up there and doing something of that sort. It was a tradition, brothers and sisters. Certainly in Florida, when the Spaniards used to run that state of Florida. Take a black woman upside down. Este niño or iña, or whatever they say, boy and girl, and cut the baby out the mother's stomach and then step on the head of the child. That's what they used to do. So if you okay, my sister, taking Washington, Lincoln, Hamilton, and Jackson, knowing good and well, they used to sit there, as stated, hang black women upside down and cut their baby out and then step on the head of the child. You a sellout if you accept that. I wanted to get into this subject because maybe we don't know the real drama that went down with us in slavery. You understand? This is why we can say, Todai Yah, Bihiyot Yah. Thank Yah for being Yah. Because the Most High already spoke and said their silver and their gold shall not be accepted in the day of the wrath of the Most High. That's in the Bible in Zephaniah, the Old Testament. The book, the Old Testament, that when the Nazi Party was in power, they said they need to get rid of the Old Testament. Did you know that? Brothers and sisters, when we speak on this kind of subject matter, it is for people's edification. If I cannot go to your house and hit your parents and sit there and say, hey, everything is okay, right? Then how can somebody take you from another continent, strip you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and like the Willie Lynch letter says concerning the enslaver, we focus on future generations. So let's understand something, and I say this in respect. The community of our people, black people, saying that we are indigenous to this land here, and in part, slavery either one, did not happen, or two, the numbers were inflated during the Atlantic slave trade, or three, we were never from Africa in the first place. When you are that part of that community talking about, well, we wasn't called Africans, quote unquote, in the 1790 census, the Willie Lynch letter was dated to 1712. So if Willie Lynch's concept, brothers and sisters, is before the census of 1790, and the Willie Lynch concept tells you we, the cracker, the white man, focus on future generations. By you taking a 1790 census as an identifying mark, brothers and sisters, as I pointed out on Facebook, which will be in a future book, is like the ancient Canaanites taking the record from the Egyptians, talking about, oh, Hatshepsut, the queen of Egypt, said we were barbarians. This is why I want to talk on this subject. Just as much as the conscious community with the whole kinetic thing is a bridge to lead you into going against the Most High, to lead you, believe it or not, into the black version of the European white man's New Age movement. I stated that on this channel before. And on the other channel that I operate called Moreh Yeshaya History Lesson. And that is, brothers and sisters, the conscious community of black people is the black equivalent to the white man's New Age Illuminati, Baphomet, Hapi of ancient Egypt worshiping society. It's the same point and premise, brothers and sisters. That's something we want to sit there and point out for edification purposes. You understand? So, my brothers and sisters, let us go, if you will, to the next slide. Again, asked reparations. And I'm asking this question here. Can they afford it? Yeah, yes, they can. If we're bought, if you allow yourself to be bought, yeah, they can afford anything if the price is right enough up. Brothers and sisters, we have to set a value on ourselves. And with everything that went down with us as a people in history, no. You're not just going to offer that to me and I'll be like, oh, okay. Well, damn, we've been accepting everything anyway. You know when nigga broke. That mentality is whom they're targeting. The politicians, let us go in, brothers and sisters. The politicians talking to our people, talking about reparations for slavery, is selling you a pipe dream just as much as the fake psychiatrist Umar Johnson is selling single black mothers, hey, I'm going to build a school. You have not built it yet. You have Danny Glover standing in politics circles talking about reparations in regards to black people. I state what Malcolm stated. In his day, they asked people like Harry Belafonte. They asked people like Lena Horne. And if they were alive, they probably would ask Biggie Smalls and Tupac. Because they take entertainers such as Danny Glover, who, by the way, O House of Israel, was going to be part of that movie called Asher that was supposed to come out against the House of Israel. But that movie never came to fruition. But that's neither here nor there at this point. So now we have to sit back and see, brothers and sisters, if you watch the movie Ali, and you can tell who was there, standing there in the black suit working for the feds, and you don't think they're also on YouTube and in the so-called conscious community, you done lost your mind. Why is it? It seems as if Malcolm X was being bashed when the man's been dead over 50 years. Because they don't want the idea of somebody bringing the United States to the World Court for slavery and oppression. Who picked up Malcolm's baton to bring the United States to the World Court in regards for slavery and oppression of, at that terminology, then the Negro? The person that people just accept as a leader, Farrakhan, stated that the guy who started Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, is his brother. These people who are standing before you, as it says in Ezekiel, O house of Yisrael, your prophets are like foxes in ruins. A fox is a sly and conniving creature. That's how many of them operate. How in the world did a said former thief ever get on side of a platform to speak? Since when, brothers and sisters, was it acceptable to tell a woman that she could be married and you don't even have to sit there and have any kind of love inside of it? The conscious community done said that. See, let me break this down real quick to show how it all ties up. They were saying at one point that the black man is being around 2005, 2006, 2007 into 2013, that a woman doesn't even need a man to have a baby. They are saying that to the generation of girls who, in many cases, did not have any fathers inside the house. See, your mommy raised you by herself. All you got to do, and I'm not making this up, is have the rays from this is what they were saying, have the rays from the sun hit your vaginal canal, and you can get pregnant from the sun. In the 1990s, they were saying black women were noted for saying to black men, thank you, sperm donor, because you're not a good father. Remember that song? My baby father ain't no damn good. My baby father ain't doing what he should. That was a song that came out in the 1990s. My baby father is no good. My baby father is not doing what he should. That was a song that came out in the 1990s. So now, when you're dealing with the millennial babies, they're being told in the said conscious community, you don't even need a man. His sperm is not even needed. Just totally get rid of the black man. Remove him out the house like they tried to do in the 70s with the welfare matter. The conscious community. This is where I'm going, brothers and sisters. The conscious community is the said black version of the white people's new age movement where the black man has no place. Just as much to get welfare for the higher rent, she couldn't have a black man's presence in the house. So are they now saying, definitely on that Sonetta and all these other channels in this so-called conscious movement, you don't even need a man for a baby. And that the man is a degenerate woman. And people were going around and saying and teaching that. So when you find a person who wrote the book while being in this comedic stuff, talking about raising the spiritual self-esteem of the LGBT community, as we went over in another teaching, don't be surprised. This is how it's all tied up. See, the European white man, he knows his time is running out. So maybe if we pay them off, they'll sit there and be okay. But hey, let's sit there and get this other channel started so you can sit there and tell them that y'all were never slaves in the first place and we'll give you America. You want to be autonomous and indigenous to America, you can keep this cold country. As long as I don't have to pay back for the wickedness of my ancestors, I will give you America. Just like the Europeans sat there and to great numbers left Jamaica, left Trinidad, left Haiti, left Puerto Rico, left Guyana, and went back to Europe. In North America, the United States, that is, they basically stayed here. So when you find people trying to sit there and debunk, supposedly attempting to debunk the out of Africa theory, when you're dealing with science or you're dealing with the Bible, it still starts in the place called Mesopotamia. So what then are they really trying to sit there and erase, brothers and sisters? Haki Matabuti, he's an author. He wrote a book back in the 1990s. Haki Matabuti. He wrote a book called Black Men, Obsolete, Single, Dangerous, question mark. He stated in that book that the black man is the threat to the white man. There was a president that said regarding slavery and the slave trade of America on our ancestors, we must do everything we can to erase this history. Did you know that? Jefferson was his name. The third president, Jefferson, because see, brothers and sisters, I intend to come out with a book about this kind of subject, talking about these kind of subjects. He stated that they, the government, must do everything they can to erase that part of the history. So, brothers and sisters, with that being the case, how then can we sit there and think that there's no way, shape, form, or fashion that somebody done got paid to infiltrate and to bring all kinds of weird doctrines just to sit there and confuse those who might sincerely attempt to want to sit there and learn something? Daniel P. Mannix and William Coley in the 1960s wrote a book called Black Cargoes, A History of the Atlantic Slave Trade. In that book, it talks about in the year 1591 how the people who were referred to as Moors, Moors, participated in the slave trade. So now when you find people saying that they were part of the Moorish science, well, slavery never happened, you just as guilty as the Europeans. So of course you're going to say that. For what? Reparations, a tax write-off, I don't have to sit there and pay taxes. Every black man is not going to go out like that. Somebody, brothers and sisters, is going to speak up and be in one's feelings about the blood of their ancestors. Let's go on, if you will, to the next slide. It did not happen. You see this here, brothers and sisters? And I want to show this, okay, with the laser pointer, right? All the people in the background with the laser pointer, sorry about that. They have, sorry to say, no strength to stand before their enemies. What reparations are you giving for that? The only way you can repair not being able to defend for your brother is to be able to defend for your brother. So now, brothers and sisters, when you find people swearing up and down, oh, that stuff didn't happen. That stuff was made up. We was always free. We was already over here. Nah, it did happen. And I want to point out, as I did before, and as I will later in the book that I'm going to drop, Creator Willing. When you say that there's no way in the world that a slave ship can hold the weight of the people who were the captives on it, when the average slave ship had anywhere between 200 to 400 captives. The average weight of the quote said African was 150 pounds, because we was already in many cases in a healthy state. The majority of the people taken during the Atlantic slave trade, like what you see there with Kunta, played by LeVar Burton, was 17 at that time. The majority taken in captivity during the Atlantic slave trade was between the age of 18 and 25. The majority of them being males. When you're looking in that particular regard, and you already know that in the year 1609, Henry Hudson had a ship that was 80 tons. 80 tons. A ton in this counting is 2,000 pounds. 80 times 2,000. My math is not its best. Let me do this. So we have 80 times 2,000. That's 160,000 pounds. That was the weight of one of Henry Hudson's ships. 160,000 pounds. So if you have 400 times 150, the average weight of the said healthy person, that's black male, between the age of 18 and 25, that gives you pounds. That's 60,000. The average cannon weighed, brothers and sisters, 3,000 pounds. They've been using cannons, brothers and sisters, since the American Revolution War. They used it during the Civil War. As a matter of fact, it was a cannon that was let off in Sumter, South Carolina in 1860 or 1861 that actually set off the Civil War to make it blow up. No pun intended by the word blow up. See, these are things that they hoped we probably wouldn't make a connection to, because we were supposed to sit there as Israelites and keep running to everybody's channel and debating. So we can't, as it says in the scriptures, in quietness and in stillness, you will find your God. You can't do that with all of that hoopla with that debate stuff. You understand what I mean? So, brothers and sisters, when you're looking at it in that particular regard, somebody thought somebody didn't read. Don't tell me that this thing is not being agent infiltrated. Let's look at the picture there on the right-hand side. Where everybody talking about all of them ain't bad. She wound up getting X amount of dollars in a settlement, and he resigned. Who taught him to do that? That, brothers and sisters, was within the past 10 years. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is dated to the 1700s. That's over 200 years of oppression. When it was said to be legal and when it was said to be illegal. See, why do I mention that? Because while you got black people talking about their laws, their constitution, they do not care about their laws. So for us to talk about, like Malcolm was saying, a black man talking about his constitutional right, you done lost your mind. And as an Israelite, I am what you would call Old Testament based. I remember when they took the microphones away from the brothers that teach from 1 West 125th Street on 42nd Street. In 1994, 95, Rudy Giuliani, who was the mayor of New York, had the microphones taken away from the Israelites teaching in the street. Don't sit there and tell me about the black man's constitutional rights. I am not caring about the laws of this man as if he follows it when I can sit there and see when it was legal and illegal of us, excuse me, getting our ass kicked. You understand? So the pacifist spirits, see, I have a daughter. When she used to whine and so, here, give her a pacifier. Make the child be quiet. That's how they view us. Sometimes they don't even view us as children. They call us goat people called kids. You're a kid, not even a human child or a baby or an infant. You're a kid. You grow up and eat cans like a goat. That's how they view us. When it was legal on the left-hand side and illegal on the right-hand side. Let's go, if we will, to the next slide, brothers and sisters. All right. Let's talk about this here. This movie that came out. Excuse me, I watched it, the movie Mom. All right, I have my thoughts about it, right? And from the trailer, I'm thinking it was a lady who happened to be black. And she was, the way I saw it from the trailer, didn't, quote, grow up. So she wanted to live her life through children and partying and everything. But then when I watched it, I began to see that it was something different. See, I want to take the pin right here and circle what you're seeing right here being circled. You see that there being circled? That male there is black. She painted, in the movie, she painted his face white and said, she being a black person, she painted a black male's face white and said there can only be one. In other words, only one black person. Now, the person you see here being circled there in the green there, the lady in the middle, she sewed her lips together. And one of these guys here, I believe it's the one on the bottom here, I'm circling in the green. Or the other one. She just straight slew him. So one of those males there was slain by her. The one that you see there, sitting down on the couch on the left-hand side of it, sewed her lips together, and with the black male that was there, just made his face white, talking about there's only one of us. So when I saw it, I was like, that's interesting. So let's see. It's a little clearer over here. She's there, as shown, brothers and sisters, with him with his face painted white in that regard. And then the two males that you see there. And if you notice, she's bleeding there and everything because her mouth was sewn up so she don't have to sit there and hear what she was saying. Now, in the trailer, they were saying, oh my gosh, Ma is crazy. But did you know that many times it was the black female that was breastfeeding their children? Why do you think they would come with a terminology called Ma? You know? Let's go on, brothers and sisters. Now, this person here, the black female that you see there, is being told in this scene that they, the children, don't want to go to her house to party anymore. I was like, okay, wow. Next part. This girl here in this scene had been to, as stated, Ma's house X amount of times. So that's why I call this They Who Know. The person who the black woman is hugging is the mother of the girl that she's looking at. The mother at this point did not know that her child that's standing behind her was at the black lady's house. Now, why did I go through these couple of slides and talk about this here? In the movie Ma, right? There was a lady in the movie by the acting name Mercedes. When the person playing Ma, Mercedes, as well as the lady that the black woman is hugging and everything, were younger, the person that was playing the part called Mercedes told and taught the black woman there, when they were all girls and children in high school, how to do oral sex on a particular white male. So she was in the school. This is part of the movie. She was in the school as a child, because they take you back, where she does oral sex to a white male. When she, quote, finishes, she goes outside after asking, did she, quote, do it right or did he like it? The whole school was laughing at her. So now, still being a child, she is in her feelings and emotional, and she runs away from them. In the movie, the black woman portraying or being shown as Ma has a daughter. She has her daughter faking an ailment inside of a wheelchair. When the child then later is not seen in school, the mother, Ma, in her mother way to try to protect her child from the embarrassment that she went through as a child in the movie, wants to say, oh, you're pretty, I'm going to cut your hair, which her hair is not cut. Why do I go over this particular stuff here? She, very few in number, was in the midst of a whole other race of people taught to do something sexual by one that's not her people, to one that's not her people, and then was humiliated by they who are not her people. In the movie, for her embarrassment and the humiliation she had, she did not ask for money. She wasn't asking for Benjamin, Hamilton, Washington, Lincoln. Do you know in the movie, the person who was playing Ma did? She killed the woman who taught her about doing oral sex and made her feel embarrassed. When a cop came to the house in the movie, she turned around, got a gun, blah, blah, and blasted him, slew him. So that's two, in layman terms, bodies that she caught. The son of the man that she did oral sex on, she shanked him and stabbed him. So that's three. She is stabbed, the person playing Ma is stabbed by the girl that you see still standing there in this particular slide. But she doesn't die. After being stabbed, she goes upstairs in her house that's on fire. Brothers and sisters, and lays down next to the man who she, after slaying his son, was carnal with. And the movie leads you to think and understand that the black lady there and the white man who she had tied up by his wrist and all of that die together. She wasn't asking for reparations. She wasn't asking for a handout in a movie. She wasn't asking to sit there and be compensated financially for her embarrassment. She slew them. Do we understand where this is going, bro? This is a movie. I didn't make the movie. They know what will be their end. It's only us, with some of us, who think, oh, you can just pay me this and I'll be all right, bolts. And then 2 generations later, after us niggas spend all the money, we got to go back to you for a job. That's wickedness. Next slide. So we can understand what it is. This is from the movie American History X. See, when you hear about that movie that came out in the 1990s called American History X, we most of the times hear about, oh, he put his foot on his neck after his teeth was on the ground. But if you watch the movie later, they show the black male slaying their enemies. I am not telling people to go out there and start killing people left and right. That's not the point in this presentation. The point in this, brothers and sisters, is speaking about reparations. Can they afford it? Yes. If we are bought, they know what will be their end. See, the Jewish people celebrate when Hitler ate his gun. Eating his gun means Hitler committed suicide. Jewish people celebrate the death of Hitler. Did you know that? Did you know, brothers and sisters, that in this kind of movie that you have been spoken to about, like this one here, the movie American History X, brothers and sisters, don't give me Washington, don't give me Grant, and sit there and use that as a way to keep me quiet. Don't tell me I am indigenous to this place with no culture to it, with no language tied to this land. Don't tell me about me being indigenous to this place here as a way to keep me quiet about the retribution for your wickedness. You understand? I'm not accepting that. Especially when Hollywood is making movies showing what will be their end. With that, I say, shalom. Y'all have a good night.